Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. I am here at Raiders headquarters where we have just spent the day visiting with several of the Raiders assistant coaches. Going to have a ton of information for you today. I specifically spent the entire offensive time with Greg Olson, the quarterback coach, and then the entire defensive time with Robbie Leonard. So we'll talk about a lot of that. Got some breaking news there as well. And then we'll have lots of videos and articles. Zeke Trezevant, my co-beat writer, spent time with several of the coaches. So did Daryl Craig Harris. We've got some great stuff coming your way. Massive coverage, then massive coverage tomorrow after practice as well. Going to give you just a lot of thoughts today. I literally titled it, thoughts, insights, and perceptions. So I want to start. You guys know that I have been big on Laki Tasi, the 350-pound rugby player when I was doing my position breakdowns. Now, I told you I did not think he would make the 53-man roster. The problem was going to be he is so incredibly athletic. Could the Raiders hide him on the practice squad, especially if he showed out this preseason? He is incredibly athletic. When you look at that young man move at his size, I've used this term before. He's like a ballerina. Um, and It's just incredibly impressive. And Rob Leonard told me, and I have the video up, that they've actually, for right now, moved him to guard, which at that size, to be that athletic and that mobile, that is a natural move. Now, I don't think that precludes him from coming back in any way to defensive line. He's never played the game of football. So it is extremely easier to learn the defensive line than the offensive line. But to be that monstrous and to be that athletic, if he could get it, I think he could be a beast on either side and be a potential superstar. But having never played the game and now trying to figure out American football, it's going to be an uphill battle. But that young man has superstar potential. 350 pounds with feet like a ballerina, and he's athletic now. Katie bar the door. He's not just a statue at that size, like a Halati Nada. And by the way, Robbie and I talked a lot about Halati. Make sure you watch that video. But um, he, if you did not know he was 350 pounds and you just watched him move, you would never believe it. So that's a big deal. That guy there's zero risk, humongous upside. I'm big on him simply because he has things that only God can give that are not human. They're not things you can develop. To be that big and that athletic is a unicorn. So for him to be trying an offensive line is not a shock. But again, it does not preclude him from coming back to the defensive line at all. So let's start with Greg Olson. He's back now. I think this is his third time. I have told you, even when they let him go a couple of years ago, he's one of the best and most respected quarterback coaches in the National Football League. I know among Raider fans, he takes a lot of grief, which is disappointing. But I can tell you, among people who get paid a lot of money in this league, who have a lot to do with football, who work in this league, he is extremely respected. And he said that Pete Carroll called him in the offseason and said, listen, I got a couple of opportunities. One was the Raiders, didn't really matter what the other one was, but he had another opportunity, legit opportunity. And, I'd love to have you come with me. And he did. I think this is great news. Now, I mentioned to him about how I have said I think it's a blessing to Aiden O'Connell that he gets to have Geno. Geno was a guy after a couple of years, people wanted to throw him away. He was relegated basically to a bench warmer, but he kept working. He kept learning. He didn't pout. He just learned the game. And then when his opportunity came, they were ready to tell Russell Wilson, bye, see ya, be gone. One of my sons told me I have to use the term bye Felicia. I don't know what it means, but I think it comes from a movie. I don't think it's vulgar. I don't think my kid would have asked me to say it if it was vulgar. So if it is, I apologize. I don't even know what movie it came from. But he told me, he goes, sometimes you need to just use the term bye Felicia. People will know what you mean. So again, basically people wanted to get rid of Genome. A lot of people wanted to do the same with Aiden. And Greg, his analysis of Aiden is like mine. He's done a lot considering what you look at what he's had to deal with. And now being able to sit under Gino, learn from Gino. I mean, he was competing with Jimmy Garoppolo. So it wasn't like it was a mentor relationship. Jimmy was great to him. He even said that, but and it wasn't like he was in any way a jerk to him. And when Jimmy got benched, they went with Aiden. Jimmy helped, but this is a total different situation. And so this is a really good opportunity for Aiden, and he agreed with me, by the way. Gino is really he's a rock. He's a guy that, again, Greg and I talked about this. He's a leader like Max, but different personality. And you don't really want your quarterback to be like Max because it wouldn't have been natural. But he's in the building early. He stays late. He helps other players, offensive and defensive. He's just not looking to help the ones. He's helping guys fighting to make the practice squad. He throws guys open. He just does the things. And I'll say this to you right now, he's the best quarterback that I believe Greg Olson's had to work with. And yes, I know he worked with Derek, and I have great respect for Derek. But I think what Greg had to work with Derek when he did, compared to where Gino is today, I would I would say it's probably a better situation. I know that's going to make a lot of people mad, and I apologize about that, but it's what I feel. I'm not trying to make you mad. I just think that's the reality. And then you look at Aiden O'Connell, a guy with a lot of experience, but really needs Olson, really needs Gino, needs some time to learn and to grow and mature like Gino did. I think you're in a great spot. And let me just tell you, Aiden is too. There isn't a battle here with Cam. Now, Cam is a guy, though, that I think is going to be difficult to hide on the practice squad. He's got those intangibles. He's uh, he's got those things you can't teach. I use the term, he has it from the ankles up. Has got to work on his feet. Well, from the ankles up, he has the frame. He's a winner. He can put the ball where the ball needs to go. He's teachable. You can absolutely see the incredible upside in what Tom Brady and Spytek and Carroll and these guys liked about him. And I think he is a solid guy at your three. Solid guy. Now he's going to compete with Carter Bradley. And I wouldn't be shocked. In fact, I would suspect Carter Bradley is going to be better than him after training camp. The problem is you can put a Carter Bradley on practice. You can't put well, you could. I don't know if you could keep them, especially as you get to the end of the year when teams are out of it. Then they go get them betting on the future. But we talked a lot about Cam. We also talked about intangibles with quarterback. I've tried to spend a lot of time with you talking this offseason, especially, but I have in the other seasons about throwing guys open, the intangibles, being able to look here and throw there. Cam Miller, for a rookie 6-round quarterback, and Greg and I even talked about this, you can go watch the film, uh, is phenomenal the way he's able to look guys off. It's phenomenal. And am I pretending he's Tom Brady? Of course not. But for a 6th-round quarterback at this stage in his career, it's phenomenal. Do I think he's as good as Geno? No. Do I think he's better at looking guys off than Aiden O'Connell? I do. But that's only one area. So I still don't think he's the number two. But I think in that particular area, he's better than Aiden. Um, we got into Brady and, him spending time with Brady and talking with Brady and about, what him sharing with Brady what his vision is about the guys on the roster. And then he said something really unique that when he first got the job, Brady gave him his evaluation of the guys on the roster. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I don't know, cool is not the word, I could care less, but interesting. And then, what they were looking for in a quarterback this offseason. Now let's go to Robbie Leonard, where I already talked about Laki Tassi going to be moved over to OG. And no, not original gangster. See, I'm learning some of y'all's terms, but OG is offensive guard. But I would not be shocked just because the learning curve is so steep. If he goes back to DL, but that's where if you can park him on practice squad. Plus, I think having him on all the offensive line is great because he probably won't be as good as there as he would be on DL. So it may be easier to hide him on practice where he gets reps at OG and at DT during the season. Uh, we talked about how uh, good it was to get Adam Butler back. And he used a term I've never heard him use before. I've heard him use verbiage that expresses it, but I have never heard him use the term point guard of the defensive line, and he did. He did. And I thought that was big, big for Butler. Tonka Hemingway, this is a guy I told you is a different skill set than Halati Nada, but similar. And Robbie understood I was talking about, he owns the space he's in, but was really emphatic that he's a lot different than Halati in that he's so athletic. Tonka just can move. And so what I find about him, this is why I said similarities, not the same. Like Halati, when he's in the gap, he owns it. But unlike Halati, he has that ability to move and go some other places. Tank Booth, the other rookie, is a lot like Halati in that he's just a space eater. He comes out of his stance, he owns the space. He's not getting moved. Um, uh, he talked about um, how glad he is to be back. I told you I was able to confirm for a fact one team did reach out to the Raiders and request permission to interview Robbie Leonard. The Raiders refused it. I'm told by someone completely reliable, but I was not able to get anyone with the team to confirm it. But I was able to get them to not deny it, that two other teams tried. And, obviously there was the what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. But he was wanted around the NFL, which speaks a lot about his talent. And the Raiders didn't want him to leave, and they were able to keep him. And he just talked about how good it was to be back. I thought that was pretty cool. He really got into how Pete Carroll coaches his coaches. He's always asking the why. Why are you doing this? What do you hope to do here? Why are you doing that? Not doing it from you're a failure, I'm the genius, but he wants to know the why, real inquisitive. And for Robbie is very similar to Pete. So for that, I thought that was very interesting piece of information and a nugget that you would like. Um, uh, when he talked about JJ Pegues. Now, remember Pegues used to be a quarterback. He's played running back. He's super athletic. And that's really the story about these D tackles now. Man, there's some athleticism there. But Pegues is a guy that has really good movement and very unique. I asked him, how unique is it though to be his size and be able to move like that? And he told me that he kind of moves like a running back with his feet. To be that big, that's dangerous now. That's dangerous. Um, we talked about Max, and he talked about how humbling it is to coach him. But he said coaching Max makes it fun because Max just demands uh, intense coaching. Max wants to be ripped and made better. I've shared this story before, but it bears being told again. My good friend Tom Izzo, the Michigan State basketball coach who happens to be a Hall of Famer, he always preaches that when your best player is your hardest worker, it's easier to coach the team because he believes a player coach team is better than a coach team. And if the coach is able to rip into the star, everybody knows he's coming after you. Max wants to be ripped. He told a really funny story. So the other day after OTA practices, they go in and watch film, and Max had a really good day, and he didn't show any of the highlights of Max. And he goes, the next practice, he came out and Max was fuming, and he goes, he literally owned the field. And he goes, hey, Robbie, any of these good enough to show? And you want that competitiveness in OTAs. We're sitting here in May. In May. Come on, somebody. In May. That's pretty cool. We talk a lot about Tyree. And, many of you know that when they picked him, they expected year one to be his red shirt. He was never healthy year one. Last year was really his rookie year. We talked about confidence. Now, many of you will remember, you can go back and watch the film, but last year I talked with Tyree in the locker room about there was a couple sacks he had missed because his eyes weren't in the right spot or he didn't have his body broke down. And Robbie told me there was actually 8 sacks he should have had, but it was a rookie. 8 he should have had. But last year was really his rookie year. And he told me that the game is really slowed down right now for Tyree, slowed down for him. And he's got a lot of confidence. And that's good news if you're a Raider fan. And the game is now starting to slow down. He's healthy, it's slowed down, and he's playing within himself. He left 8 sacks on the field last year. I think he had a good year last year if you looked at it like a rookie season. Imagine how good you would have thought if there was 8 more sacks. Um, we talked a lot about Charles Snowden, who really embraces the suck. They've nicknamed him Virginia because he's a very smart player. And, and I don't want to hear any of your comments about maybe some mistake that he's made. Every one of us has and made many. And he's a young man, and I believe in grace. And I'm going to tell you whether you like this or not. I think he's a great kid. And there have been some people in this organization who I can't think of anyone right now, but who I have not liked. And I still believe in second chances for people. And I've not called them a great kid. Okay. Charles Snowden's a great kid. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know his parents. I may have met him. I just don't remember because I meet a ton of people. But they raised a good kid, and I like him. And I heard the saying once. I heard a preacher say this: "When you hit a setback, don't take a step back. Get ready for your comeback." And that's Charles Snowden. And he's a very ethereal player, very smart player, and he's making strides. And I think if they had to do the 53-man roster today, that he would make it. By the way, next Tuesday, I am going to unveil um, my predicted practice squad. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to give my predicted 53-man roster. So make sure you're watching for that, please. Um, I asked him about Ja Joyner, and literally, this is a guy UDFA. He's just learning how to be a pro, and there's a reason he wasn't picked. There were some teams that liked him, but he's got a long way to go. But I think he's got a good shot at this practice squad. I really do. And but just keep your eye on Ja. It's a long way. I don't think he's going to go anywhere this year, but keep your eye on him. He's learned how to be a pro, but if he can learn that, he's got the assets. And then I'm going to say two more things. Christian Wilkins, I'm just telling you, I'm here in the building. This is actually the room where when you see Raider players like on NFL Network or whatever, this is where they film it. The camera is over here, and then the background is over here that you can see. Um, Christian Wilkins, everyone I've talked to in this building, I've talked to a lot of people. No one is panicked about Christian. Everybody thinks he's going to be fine and ready um, by the start of the regular season. I know there are a lot of people panicked. I don't get that, but hey, it's your life, do whatever you want. But I'm just telling you, he's doing everything they want. He's here in the building, he's coaching young players, and he's doing everything to be back. And that is still the impression that they expect him to be back. All right, I want to talk about one last player. I've talked about him a little bit. I'm going to start talking about him more, probably even more tomorrow. But Jonah Lalu, this is a kid last year that came in. I told you I expect him to make the roster. Uh, he played pretty good last year when he finally got a shot. But this is a kid that Christian Wilkins has really taken him under his wing and has really mentored him. So don't lose sight of that kid, Jonah Lalu. There's a lot to like about him, personally and professionally. Don't lose sight on Lalu. Lock in on Lalu. Trust me, you won't regret it. Thanks, everybody. See you again from here at the facility again tomorrow. God bless you. Oh, by the way, tomorrow it's going to be hot. I think it was Heidi Fang of the Review Journal said it's going to be 109. So if you smell sausage burning in Henderson, it's just fat Hondo out there on the field, man, and watching practice. And I can't wait. I love every second of it. See you tomorrow, everybody.